This is the Hiking and Backpacking with Goose podcast. This episode is a little different than my typical episode because it isn't a trail review at all, but rather a discussion of hiking and other activities in and around the Great Smoky Mountains National Park during the winter. So sit back and relax with a warm cup of cocoa while I share a few thoughts on the topic. Let's get started. While the park is located in the south, the winter weather in the park, especially at the higher elevations, is harsher than most people realize. The park's peak seasons are the summer, when people are on vacation and want to see the sights in the park and hike its trails, as well as the fall, when a lot of people come to see the beautiful displays of colors as the leaves are changing to various shades of red and yellow. However, there are trails to hike and sights to see in the winter as well. There are some benefits to hiking in the winter in the Smokies. There are no bugs is a big benefit. Also, you're less likely to encounter snakes. There are fewer bears. The bears here don't actually hibernate all winter, but they are way less active during the winter. And most importantly, the trails are less crowded during the winter. Because the Smokies include some of the tallest mountains in the eastern United States, it does get colder here in the higher elevations than in the lower elevations of North Carolina and Tennessee. And the park does get snow and ice. Because of that, some of the areas of the park are routinely closed during the winter. A couple of the more popular areas that are closed in the winter include the road to Kuohi, formerly known as Clingman's Dome, and the Roaring Fork Motor Nature Trail. Other less popular roads in the park that are routinely closed in the winter include Hintuga Ridge Road, Forge Creek Road, Little Greenbrier Road, Parson Branch Road, and Rich Mountain Road. All of these are routinely scheduled to close from early to late November until early to mid-March. Roads that are not routinely scheduled for closure but are very frequently closed during the winter include Cataloochee Road and Upper Tremont Road. If you're into camping, you'll be glad to know that the Cades Cove Campground and the Smokemont Campground are open year-round, but the other 8 campgrounds and 5 horse camps are closed in the winter. If you're planning a winter picnic, the Cades Cove, Metcalf Bottoms, Greenbrier, and Deep Creek picnic areas are open year-round, but the other picnic areas in the park are closed for the winter. The Sugarlands, Cades Cove, and Oconaluftee visitor centers are open year-round, but the Kuohi Visitor Center is closed during the winter. So as you can see, there is a lot you can do in the park during the winter. However, any location or road in the park, even those that are scheduled to be open, can be closed if there is snow, ice, or other weather events. So always check the park's website for closures before you plan your Smoky Mountain adventures. Let's talk a bit about hiking in the Smokies during the winter. First of all, be aware that even if there hasn't been a recent snow, trails at higher elevations can be dangerous during the winter due to the ice buildup that will not melt until the later part of the spring. During Season 3, Episode 3, when I hiked Alum Cave Trail to Mount LeConte, I found a lot of ice on various parts of the trail. The higher I hiked, the more ice there was. That hike took place in March when it was quite warm at the lower elevations of the park. If you are really adamant about hiking at higher elevations during the late fall, the winter, or the early spring, you should really have micro spikes on your shoes and hiking poles with you. You should probably have them with you at lower elevation hikes as well if there has been recent sub-freezing weather. I've also seen ice on lower elevation hikes as well in the winter. My general advice is to not hike higher elevation trails during the winter because I think it will be more dangerous than most people realize. It's also worth noting that during the winter, there are far fewer hikers in the Smokies than during the other 3 seasons. That's a good thing in that the trails aren't crowded, but it can also be dangerous. So from a safety perspective, you might want to focus on more popular or shorter trails because you are more likely to see other hikers who could help you if you become injured during your hike. Also, when hiking during the winter, you should carry items that could help keep you alive should you become stranded in the woods. Those items include an emergency tent, emergency blanket, fire starting materials, an extra layer of warm clothes, a sleeping bag that has a very low temperature rating, a 2-way radio, a cell phone, as well as some food. For more on that, I would recommend listening to Season 1, Episode 10, which is on cold weather hiking. Also, I would highly recommend abandoning your hike if you see ice or snow on the trail. Okay, so now I'll make some recommendations of lower elevation hikes that are likely to be accessible during the winter. In the Cades Cove area, there is the Abrams Falls Trail and the Crib Gap Trail Lollipop. Near Townsend, Tennessee, there is the Chestnut Top Trail and the Schoolhouse Gap Trail. In the Elkmont area of the park, there is the Little River Trail, Jake's Creek Trail, and the Metcalf Bottoms Trail. In the Tremont area of the park, there is the Middle Prong Trail. In the Sugarlands area of the park, there is the Fighting Creek Nature Trail, the Trail to Cataract Falls, the Gatlinburg Trail, and the Old Sugarlands Trail. In the Oconaluftee area of the park, you will find the Oconaluftee River Trail. In the Deep Creek area of the park is the Junie Wank Falls Trail, the Deep Creek Trail, and the Indian Falls Trail. So this list is not exhaustive, and I'm quite sure that there are many other trails that are accessible during the winter. If you're planning to be in the Smokies during the winter, take some time reviewing the park website to plan your hike. I would also recommend going back and listening to some of my older episodes because many of the trails that I just mentioned are included in previous episodes. If you're vacationing in the area and you find that a large part of the park, or all of it for that matter, is closed due to bad winter weather, do not fret because there is a lot to do in the towns around the Smokies. You can find all kinds of live shows, amusements, restaurants, and shopping in Pigeon Forge and Sevierville. There are ski slopes in Gatlinburg and Maggie Valley. And there are lots of restaurants, shopping centers, and amusements in Cherokee, Maggie Valley, and Gatlinburg. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe to it and give it a good rating on the podcast platform that you use. The algorithms look for that, and it helps to expand listenership, which helps me to spread the word about this podcast. Also, please recommend it to your friends who enjoy hiking and outdoor adventures. If you like it, they'll probably like it too. Photos and videos taken during some of the hikes mentioned in this episode can be found on Instagram, where my name is Goosa Hikin. That's GOOSEAHIKIN. A final thought. As always, enjoying the great outdoors is most certainly enjoyable and fun. But please don't engage in strenuous physical activities that are beyond your capabilities or your physical condition. Make sure you're familiar with the wildlife you could encounter on your journey so you can be prepared. Also, make sure that you wear weather-appropriate clothing, carry an emergency medical kit, water, and a map, and always stay on the trail. And be extremely careful when hiking in the winter.